worry, Pim. I can cheer you up.
It's Small Moo! You voted and we listened! This cannot be undone! Small Moo is here to stay!
Ahoy hoy, friends and enemies, and welcome to my 500 subscriber special. To many, not a significant amount, but to me, wowee, 500 people give a toss about what I have to jabber on about. It feels pretty terrific, I tell you what. Well, I decided to put this one up to a vote between two challenge ideas, either a sequel to Dishonored 1's pistol-only run, or a sequel to the Dishonored 2 thrown object-only run. To be perfectly honest, I thought the results would have been a little closer. The pistol run is, to this date, my most successful run, views-wise, but voters were in favor of thrown objects. I mean, there were only 9 votes, but still, it was a landslide. So, without further ado, can you beat Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, with only thrown objects? Let us begin. Right off the bat, the run was almost doomed by the same wooden boards that ended the previous run, because they have to be smashed open to progress. Luckily, a witch girl failure left behind the rotting corpse of a dog, which I could use as a projectile. The boards were on the outside, so the wolfhound kept hitting the surrounding wall. Before I gave up at the start, I leaned into the board, then dropped the hound, opening my way out, all thanks to the rotting carcass of Lassie. It had been a hot minute since I got any bottle throwing practice in, so let's give it a shot against the first guard I see. Flawless. I would once more use the body of Airbud to open a boarded up crawl space, further cementing how leaning will come in handy going forward. While I navigated the next 2 guards, I must have accidentally lured one to an earlier location, because when I got the one by the stairs, the roving guard was standing on the carriage, meaning he looked right at me. I found a bottle to hit upside his head, but because I am no longer stealthy, he was unaffected. I lack the strength upgrade from the previous games, so enemies must be taken unaware. Thankfully, because he doesn't get paid enough to deal with this shit, the moment I break into someone's house to rob them, he gives up. Inside the fight club, I bribe the doorwoman man, steal back my bribe, and knock out the cook. Once again, because of the absence of chaos, my measure of success is how many contracts I can do by abiding by the rule set of the challenge. But before I destroy the plagued rat spirit, some of which I accidentally destroy by phasing glass bottles through each other, I find numerous bottles of chloroform, which will make the next part easy peasy. 1 bottle for the gang members with the key I need, a couple more for the dogs, including the one I have to euthanize for a contract. Once Doubt was freed, he eliminated the rest of the eyeless gang, leaving me free to ransack the joint for all its valuables. On the way out, I used one of the spare chloroform bottles to take care of the guards by the door, but they weren't too close together because one got into the kitchen, where I proceeded to pelt him with the plague drink, which causes him to vomit, which opens me up to hit him again, which causes him to vomit, and once I have completed the contract, I end his cycle of torment by using a spare chloroform bottle I found to put him out of his misery and fall asleep in a pile of his bile. From there, I drugged 1 more guard and made a straight shot for the door. The second mission begins with Billy losing her arm, and paranormal magic virginity, and I reveal a shocking twist of the run. I am playing it on Original Game Plus, not New Game. Original Game Plus isn't a New Game Plus, it's more of playing Death of the Outsider with the Dishonored 2 power set. There are 3 powers which can be split into mobility, visibility, and versatility. Displace, foresight, and semblance being replaced with blink, dark vision, and domino respectively. I figured for this challenge run, semblance would be less useful than domino, since semblance can eliminate enemies in a manner forbidden to me. It wasn't until the scripting process did I remember that I could knock someone out, drag their body, then use semblance. Oh well, I have domino instead. Subtracting foresight for dark vision also hinders me because it isn't like Void Gaze from Dishonored 1's DLCs, because it doesn't point you in the direction of bone charms, meaning I have to find it myself. Digression over, start of second mission. I immediately break into the Red Camiella's tattoo parlor to ink myself up with gang imagery that looks suspiciously like a rectal marital aid. My next beeline is directly into the black market to acquire the contracts I need to complete for this mission, and then buy equipment. And just my luck, one of the black bone charms on sale is Forceful Throw, which not only enables me to throw farther, but it has the unlisted bonus of enabling me to incapacitate conscious foes with a headshot, granting me the exact same power from Dishonored 2. The rest of my cash is spent on upgrades to my bone charm capacity and stealth, seeming how I cannot use many other upgrades anyhow. My first trip to experiment with my powers is to assassinate Krusty the Clown and make it look like a suicide for insurance money. Using Domino to put him and nearby pedestrians to sleep, the chloroform would probably have knocked them out regardless, but no chances. This plan makes no sense to me anyway, since don't most life insurances have like a suicide prevention clause attached? The next point of order is to rob the targets of Ivan Jacoby and Shan Yun. Jacoby is quite adamant he not fall through the trapdoor of the stage, and, well, what is falling if not being thrown by gravity? Once he hits his mark, I throw the night-night juice at the guard keeping watch and let Ivan fall flat on his face. To my surprise, he doesn't die, merely rendered unconscious, albeit needing a nose job once he wakes up. I took a nearby bottle of rum with me before leaving to rob Jacoby of his priceless belongings and secret murder blood. Well, I've got 3 more contracts to do here, so I head to the bank and drop off the crime evidence with the Daily Star, before hiding in the bathroom and stalking the racketeer back to her boss. The contract stipulated dead, so you'll understand why I've been lugging around a Molotov the last 2 sentences. Of course, 2 strangers burning in a street draws eyes, so I spend the next few minutes trying and failing to knock out the nearby guards. So I dip out for a minute to find more chloroform in a botanist's apartment and then come back, link multiple guards with Domino and send them into their nightmares. While I wait even more for the rest of the guards to dissipate, I find a little taxidermy place, whom I intended to rob. I failed to notice the tripwire and got exploded so hard that the game began to chug, and the explosion must have messed up some scripting, because when I free the prisoner, the taxidermist was intending to infest with blood flies to cultivate and then harvest bloodfly amber. He was standing so close to the door that it got smacked a little, ending the conversation and causing him to just stroll out of the building instead of fleeing with any sense of haste. Anyway, I hit the taxidermist and subjected her to her own form of punishment before incinerating the bodies for public health concerns. I failed to incapacitate the last few guards, but they dissipated enough so I could slip into the private bar unnoticed. I paid at the bar for some flammable liquid, but the cheap bastard took my money and ran with it. So instead I went upstairs to kill some people. Afterwards I came back downstairs with some chloroform, linked up all the people I could, and knocked out the bartender before knocking out the last few survivors too. Then I lugged the bartender to where the contract wanted me to dump his body, and came back for the access bridge into Shan Yun's home. A miscalculated bottle toss winds up alerting the guards, and a problem with Domino is highlighted. When a target is linked, their head is obfuscated, meaning lining up a good shot or checking to see if they have a helmet is impossible. This concludes in my first death. The second go-around I became much more violent and up close, culminating in a hilarious scene where Shan Yun is stopped mid-sentence.
Your eye is Ow.
I had no reason to, but I cleaned out the entire house, including setting multiple guards on fire. All cops are bastards or something, I don't know, I'm an arsonist now. Once I finish robbing the entire building, I finally grab the last key and finally leave. Finally, I conclude the last contract of the mission by rescuing the dentist from the Spectre Club, placing him in a shed, setting fire to another guard, and then using his charred remains to open a cabinet I needed to smash open. With everything done that needed doing, I spent the rest of my murder money on more upgrades and left via my skiff. The end stats state that I killed 10 hostiles, meaning I didn't kill anyone that didn't already have it coming to them, including the clown. He probably kicked puppies. Mission 3 begins and I listen to Dad for about 5 minutes, including some dialogue I don't think I've heard before, afterwards taking the boat back to where I just was. Despite this, I would still wound up going to the carriage part of town so I could rob people and assault a woman eating dinner. I picked up a bottle of sleep juice from the dentist's, but a misplaced blink causing me to slip and fall, smashing the chloroform, alerting a nearby guard, who then foolishly walks into the cloud of smoke. They didn't teach this at the police academy. Heading back to the pharmacist's for a refill of my prescription, I noticed that handier stuff like chloroform is highlighted in dark vision, while common bottles are not. Nifty. Now, I could easily buy some laudanum from the black market for less effort, but I chose the more fun way, which immediately backfired as I missed the auctioneer, alerted everyone, and ran away. Once I came back, the auction hall was deserted, permitting me to rob the place without a fuss. I visited Ivan's place just to hang out with him and give a drink to his pals. I also popped by the market for contracts. Already finished one of them when I stole a painting. Finally, reaching the bank grounds, I pickpocket the shopping list from the one guard and can finally make my way inside. The only run-compliant way into the building is through the roof, and I need a whale oil tank for that. The guards are easy, but the dogs are hard as they are immune to domino. So when the nearest guard leaves for a pee break, I toss a bottle at the guard dog, which alerts a different guard to investigate. So I move the glass-ridden mutt around the corner so as to not set off any alarms. From there, I carefully maneuvered the whale oil around the blue shirt, finally making it to the roof, filling the air conditioner with swank and using an entrance I don't think I've noticed before. The actual bank robbery itself was totally uneventful. The whole challenge is based on throwing crap, and I can't throw anything or everyone will wake up and fail the contract. Nothing really interesting happens until I get to the atrium. Normally I would use Displace to get behind the security features, but with Blink I shut it off at the power source. The only thing of worthy note was when in the basement my controller disconnected due to the cable being a bit wonky, resulting in myself almost being caught. Twice. And I somehow woke up the sleeping guard when I opened Morgan Yu's safe. No idea how the hell that happened. Anyway, I made it up to the bank owner's office, finished the last contract, stole the key, climbed on top of the safe, and somehow all the guards started to wake up. But they would have woken up anyway as soon as the vault came crashing down. And fortunately, the alarm going off doesn't fail the Quiet as a Mouse contract. Mission accomplished, Dowd's dead, next level.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!
Ooh, boy. The Royal Conservatory is by far the hardest level of the entire run. I'm not mad. Everyone always says my challenge runs are too easy, so who minds if my challenge run has a little extra challenge? From the start, I looted the apartment building that, while filled with bloodflies in Dishonored 2, is rigged to hell with booby traps in Death of the Outsider. I stole the Raiders of the Lost Ark idol, then I brought a corpse I found to the door of the black market so I could actually break in and open the contracts for once. First contract already complete, 2 more to go. I entered the conservatory through the first open window I could find, found the Book of Prophecies completing the second contract, and made my way up to where Cardoza is researching the witches to complete the final contract of the game. Oh, that damned final contract. I get spotted quickly, but Cardoza goes down just as fast. If you'll remember from my Displaced run, there are a number of chloroform bottles in here, so I could remove the oracular order expeditiously. They pack a mean punch with their maces and hyperbaric grenades. They even smash up some of the glass I intended to use as ammunition. This encounter alone uses up several of my health elixirs, but once I confirm my safety and the safety of Cardoza, the contract stipulates that everyone inside be dead. So I make sure everyone is by tossing them off the balcony. The remainder of the mission was straight up hours of trying to eliminate the Overseers. I had to use most of the chloroform in the level for the Oracular Sisters. That was a mistake, as Overseers wear masks that protect their faces from attack, even with Forceful Throwbone Charm, meaning all of them must be taken unaware. And I missed the correct spot on the back of their head so damned much I started running low on bottles. Then I remembered there was a tavern nearby I could try to use, hoping there would be flammable rum inside. No dice. My actions got a nearby side quest character killed, but then they killed themselves through their own grenades. Well, I guess it counts even if it's not my thrown objects. I found a single bottle of rum next to the bonfire of the vanities, and I decided not to waste it and headed back inside to find a large clump of Overseers and cleared out the basement, where I also have to bring Cardoza's sleeping body. I actually took the opportunity to hold a sleeping beauty to the music chair in the basement so I could keep track of when all the enemies in the level are dead. There was also some chloroform nearby which I could immediately use in the next room over. I got caught quickly, so I was only able to chain all but one, but a moment happened that should only be shown in its entirety.
No mercy!
I ran back outside to find more fire and quickly died. Once I reloaded, I took care of the last basement man in the old-fashioned way, with glass, then tossed him and his sleeping comrades down a flight of stairs.
He's dead, Jim. He's dead, Jim. He's dead, Jim.
After drowning 2 more folks guarding the doors outside, I found the greatest treasure ever, whale oil tanks. If I were a pervert, this would be sexually arousing. I did not want to waste these, and because I cannot use Blink holding them, I had to plan how to use them most effectively. I ran around and went to the entrance of the conservatory itself, alerting as many overseers as I could, while also avoiding all the bullets to avoid becoming human ravioli. All bar 1 successfully exploded, with the last guy being conked on the head and then sent to heaven. I then found everyone doing their paperwork, offered them a drink, and introduced them to a crazy theory called gravity. But I heard smashing each time they landed, so I worried I wasted some ammo. At this point, I was very, very tired and had taken a recording break to go back through my own footage to see if there were any chloroform bottles I missed. When I came back the following recording session, I found 2 extra bottles of chloroform, so made a beeline straight for the area of the level, concentrated with the most enemies, linked as many as I could, jumped around until somebody heard me, herded them around to be as close as possible, then sent them to bed. 2 overseers would be left over, and my attempts to subdue them with Shattered Buckfast would prove fruitless. Next to Brother Cardozo would be another missed bottle of Napian. This bottle would be saved for the next largest congregation, which would be outside, but not before I use a woman's body to open a window. I counted 3 guards, so I made them aware of a queer black magic user, which makes the angry Catholic schoolboys seethe. Happy Pride Month, everyone. And used Domino to chain them together. Turns out there were 4, and I accidentally disconnected the last one, so I tried to knock him into the bonfire with a bottle, and then with the corpse of dead friend, and when that failed, I had to break pursuit, then stalk him with a regular bottle. But he vanished suddenly, so I spent about 10 minutes searching for him while he searched for me. And then I found a 3rd whale oil tank. That's good, extra ammunition. Finally he was down, and with the entire exterior secure, I began to make sure nobody was alive and hosted a barbecue. Next to the bonfire was the last bottle of flammable liquid in the entire mission, so I returned to the first floor duo, chained them together and set them alight. After mastering complete spatial awareness, I concluded there was only a single overseer left in the entire mission left awake, so I gave him the special honor of explosion by whale oil tank. Finally, the level completely deserted, I spent the next 10 minutes gathering the remaining sleeping bodies around the entire facility and tossing them from a lethal height into an organized pile, until finally the quest marker updated, informing me that I had completed the contract, meaning all 13 contracts can be completed by abiding to the rules of the challenge. With nothing left to do, I head back to the black market to restock on all the health elixirs I lost during the mission, and leave at last. The final mission in Shinderi Peak starts right next to a room filled with whale oil tanks, which normally can only be accessed with a Foresight Displace puzzle, but I proved you can do it with Blink, because this is the version with the frozen time ability, so I could quickly swoop in and leave with a partially filled canister of volatile Baja Blast, which is then immediately thrown into 2 cultists. I wouldn't know this at the moment, but this would be the last kill of the run. In order to progress, I had to use the body of the last mostly intact cultist to break the door open and then drag his carcass to the cargo lift, which for some reason only moves when there are 3 or 4 people on it. Why is that a requirement? Who designs an elevator to be like that? One corpse is easy enough, but the rest were in pieces. The legs were simple to hoof it, but the torsos are held in such a way that you cannot use Blink. So I had to throw these dismembered pieces inconspicuously across the populated courtyard. Thankfully, this was all the weight needed, and I skipped past a dozen enemies inside the mine shafts themselves, and the majority of the time was spent waiting for the assortment of blathering idiots to shut up and look in the other direction so I could sneak past. I finally found a bottle in this dump, but when I finally made it undetected to the eye of the dead gods and entered into the void, the bottle vanished. Call me an artistic apiarist, because I'm making another beeline back the way I came, to the room where the non-lethal option is kept. And then back to the lift. When I crossed over into the void, the bits of corpses must have vanished too. I guess objects you can throw cannot cross over into hell, but liftable corpses can. The afterlife has such arbitrary rules. But the lift could not move, so I had to go down the shaft I had previously managed to avoid. When approaching invisibly, I accidentally fell down into where the lift used to be and found an empty Gatorade canister, which I took with me, only being forced to drop it when I tried to run into the ritual hold. Well, since I had nothing to throw at him, I instead did what I did back in the first mission of the game, and make Dowd do it. Finishing the game and proving, yes, you can indeed beat Dishonored's Death of the Outsider with only thrown objects, completing every contract while doing so. Should you? No, absolutely not. Oh man, I love a good Dishonored challenge, but this one was the one that wore me down, and it was almost entirely just from the Royal Conservatory mission, to the point where I had to take a break because I was sitting on my chair for so long it began to hurt my back. But it was fulfilling, and my detractors have gone on to say that all my Dishonored challenges were by far too easy, so suck on that, detractors! This one was actually hard to do! 2026 is half over now, and has been a rather rough year for me with hardship, but I do still love my Dishonored runs. And the original developers of Dishonored have started a developer commentary playthrough, where they are divulging the many interesting secrets that they had behind the scenes, so things might be starting to look up. And special thanks to all you viewers. 500 of you decided I'm apparently worth something enough to subscribe to. I really hope to be able to keep doing more of these in the future, and maybe branch out into other games if I'm finally in a financially stable place to finally replace my aging laptop. They say you should replace them every 3 to 8 years, and I am on year 9. So thank you all for watching, thank you very much, and I hope to see you all again in the future. Take care.